From my standpoint, politics is not playing into this at all.
2 weeks ago, Elon Musk broke the internet, calling the ISS commander a liar and a retard, and also saying that Butch and Sunny were not able to come home for political reasons. So why not ask Butch and Sunny themselves, just first of all, if that's true? Well, that's exactly what reporters tried to do on Tuesday, March 4th. Of course, reporters were chomping at the bit, trying to figure out, was this true? Did Elon Musk and SpaceX offer Butch and Sunny a ride home sooner? If so, how was it offered, etc.? And I have to say, the answers that Butch and Sunny gave were even a little bit conflicting at times, so let's get into it.
What's it like to wake up one day in space and find yourself in the center of a political story? I'm referring to the comments a month ago made by President Trump and Elon Musk regarding your return.
Obviously, we've heard some of these different things that have been said. I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation. And we're thankful that they are in the positions they're in. The words they've said, politics, I mean, that's part of life. We understand that. And there's an important reason why we have a political system and the political system that we do have. And we're behind it 100%. We know what we've lived up here. We know the ins and outs and the specifics that they may not be privy to, and I'm sure that they have some issues that they are dealing with, information that they have that we are not privy to. So when I think about your question, that's part of life. We are on board with it. We support our nation. We support our nation's leaders, and we're thankful for them.
And while we've heard from Butch and Sunny a few times during their nearly 9-month stay, this was the first time the media has been able to talk to the astronauts since the politicization of Crew 9's return, and also Elon Musk's comments, him saying that he thinks that they should deorbit the space station early, which is something that they would be able to weigh in on since they're up there and they know exactly the condition that ISS is in.
Following up on the topic of politics, part of the discussion has been a claim that the decisions surrounding the timing of your return were influenced by politics and that there was an option to come home earlier. I'm just wondering if you feel like politics influenced the decision, and would you have wanted to come home earlier?
From my standpoint, politics is not playing into this at all. From our standpoint, I think that they would agree. We came up prepared to stay long, even though we planned to stay short. That's what we do in human spaceflight. That's what your nation's human spaceflight program is all about, planning for unknown, unexpected contingencies. And we did that. And that's why we flowed, as Nick said, right into Crew 9, into Expedition 72, as we did. And it was somewhat of a seamless transition because we had planned ahead for it and we were prepared.
If I can add, when I launched in late September, our planned return date was the end of February. And given the amount of training that's required to get a crew ready and the complexities associated with getting a spacecraft ready to launch and operate in space, targeting a March return is pretty much on target.
How is the condition of the International Space Station? How do you find it? There was a suggestion by Elon Musk that it could be deorbited earlier. Just wondering if you think the structural facility can hold up till 2030, and is there 6 years of meaningful research to be done during that time? Thank you.
Hey, Eric, great question. We've been up here since sort of the beginning. Like I mentioned before, Butch and I had been part of the construction of the space station with the shuttle flights. So yeah, we've seen it grow from just a couple modules to this amazing laboratory that it is right now. And I actually was extremely impressed coming up here and seeing how much science is going on, particularly when we have the resupply missions that bring up a lot of science. I mean, this place is ticking. It's just really amazing. So I would say we're actually in our prime right now. We've got all the power, all of the facilities up and operating. So I would think that right now is probably not the right time to say call it quits. We have probably till 2030 in our agreements, and I think that's probably really accurate because we should make the most of this space station for our taxpayers and for all of our international partners and hold our obligations and do that world-class science that this laboratory is capable of.
I see what you did there, Nick. Nicholas on Instagram asks, You inspire me to dream big. What was the most exciting part of your mission? And let's hear from all three of you on this one.
I can tell you there's a lot of responsibility in many ways up here, many times, very often. But the greatest responsibility that any of us have is when you put someone else in a spacewalking suit and they go out the door, because you're responsible to make sure everything's done correctly and that that suit performs to what it's capable of. I mean, it's a one-person space capsule is what it is. So when they come back in and you open that hatch and bring them in, that's the proudest moment for someone.
I think for me, I'm looking forward to the moment that's coming up where I am going to get to bring Crew 9 home.
And I think for me is classically looking out the window. We have had some amazing aurora while we've been up here. The sun's been really active, and it really puts you sort of in your place, and you recognize that the universe is extremely powerful, and what little part we are of it, as Nick alluded to earlier, it's just spectacular.
So let me know in the comments, do you think that their return was delayed due to political reasons, or was it purely technical, or is it a mix of both? It was really interesting hearing these questions being asked, and unfortunately, I don't think that their answers were quite what we were hoping for, but maybe they'll be more candid once they get back on the ground. I am genuinely curious to hear what they think of riding in Crew Dragon, because that will be the fourth type of spacecraft that they've ridden in, so they are extremely lucky with Soyuz experience, shuttle experience, of course, briefly Starliner experience, and then Crew Dragon. So hopefully on a positive note, they're gonna tell us what each one is like and how they differ. And then let's talk about SpaceX. They dropped some really interesting news about Florida during the scrub that we had on Monday. And by the way, I'll be heading to Florida on March 11th, so I'm going to try to see if, there's anything that I can report on site. But here's the information so that this doesn't become too old of news. SpaceX let us know that in addition to continued infrastructure development at Starbase, where SpaceX is headquartered, they're also expanding Starship operations in Florida, bringing Starship production and launch capabilities to the Space Coast. And we've known this for a long time, that the intention was for Texas to be R&D and for Florida to be fully operational. But they had some hangups and some delays in their Starship construction, but it looks like they're back on track. They continue as flight testing and development of Starship continues at Starbase in Texas. SpaceX is building a new integration facility called Giga Bay next to its Hangar X location at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Additionally, SpaceX plans to complete the Starship launch pad at Launch Complex 39A at KSC this year, while the environmental impact statements continue for potential Starship flight operations from both LC-39A and Space Launch Complex 37, or SLIC 37, at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful. Expansion of Starship production and launch operations in Florida will enable SpaceX to significantly increase the build and flight rates for Starship, which will be the first rapidly and fully reusable launch vehicle in history. Access to space is critical and a growing need for U.S. national security, leadership in science, the country's exploration goals, and for the growth of the economy. Starship will ultimately be responsible for sending millions of tons of payload to Mars, building a self-sustaining city to make humanity multiplanetary. The Giga Bay in Florida will stand 380 feet tall and provide approximately 46.5 million cubic feet of interior processing space, with 815,000 square feet of workspace, including ground-level elevated platform work areas and a work and meeting space on the top floor. Giga Bay will also be able to support Starship and Super Heavy vehicles up to 81 meters, or 266 feet tall, and will provide 24 work cells for integration and refurbishment work, along with cranes capable of lifting up to 400 U.S. tons. Compared to the Mega Bay facilities in Starbase, currently SpaceX's largest stacking and integration buildings, Giga Bay provides more than 11 times the square footage for workspace, 19 additional work cells, and more than twice the crane lifting capacity. So I thought everything was bigger in Texas, but it's going to be even bigger in Florida. Site preparations for Gigabay in Florida have already begun, with construction targeted to be complete and the facility operational by the end of 2026. At the same time, we are also building another Gigabay at Starbase in Texas next to our Starship Star Factory manufacturing facility. Work on this Gigabay has already begun, and the facility is targeted for completion by the end of 2026. As we work to complete the Gigabay in Florida, we are also designing and planning for a co-located manufacturing facility similar to the Star Factory in Texas to enable production of Starships in Florida. To enable initial Starship flights from Florida while our Space Coast Starship manufacturing, integration, and refurbishment facilities are being completed, we will first transport completed Super Heavy boosters and Starship upper stage ships from Starbase via barge, to build up a Starship fleet in Florida. With production, integration, refurbishment, and launch facilities in Florida as well as Texas, we will be in a position to quickly ramp Starship's launch rate via rapid reusability. SpaceX is also building a Starship launch and catch site at LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center. And this Starship pad in Florida will include learnings from Starship's first 2 pads in Starbase. In 2022, SpaceX stacked the launch tower at LC-39A. In the coming months, the teams will build and install the pad's deflector system, which provides cooling and sound suppression water during Starship launches and catches. This new deflector will be nearly identical to the one being installed to support the second launch pad at Starbase. Pending completion of environmental reviews, SpaceX intends to conduct Starship's first Florida launch from LC-39A in late 2025. Are you sure about that? I mean, that'd be great, but that sounds pretty optimistic. SpaceX also writes that to support the needed flight rate to make humanity a multiplanetary civilization, which includes not only the launch of cargo and people, but also the propellant tankers to enable on-orbit refueling, SpaceX is also interested in enabling Starship launches from Slick 37. SpaceX has been given a limited right of entry for Slick 37 in support of conducting further due diligence on the site in order to move forward with the environmental impact study led by the Department of the Air Force for Starship and Super Heavy operations at Slick 37. And by the way, the price tag on this, well, SpaceX is planning to invest at least $1.8 billion to build the new Starship launch pads and processing facilities on Florida's Space Coast, according to Florida's governor. So that's super exciting. And again, I will probably be reporting on this once I'm in Florida, just to recap you guys and show you what I see in person. However, just wanted to give you this news and really interesting stuff going on in the space world. It's hard to keep up with all of it, but thank you so much for watching my channel. If you like this video, please subscribe to Ellie in Space, and I'll see you in the next video.